I would like to go over to Carter right now from Hort and Pott. Hi, are you unmuted?
Yeah, I'm here. Thanks for having me.
Great, great. And yeah, great to see you. Haven't seen you in a while. We're running very late, so I'm going to let you go right away without further
Cool.
ado.
Thanks. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I was trying to think of how I wanted to construct my presentation here. I'm definitely going to be on the less formal side. I have no PowerPoint skills or anything like that. And I think just to kind of riff on the theme I've been hearing from a lot of the other guests is this kind of idea of evolution, maybe a large sense of discovery from changing your scenario, because for me and my partner Todd, we also spent a good portion of a decade in New York City together, and we ended up in the country slightly by accident. It was my only desire to really move to the city to kind of find myself, and I'm going to share my screen and just start working through some pictures here. So basically, I was working in the city as I did fabrication. I was in a very kind of industrial setting. I did a lot of I was also working in the mediums of so I did light installations. I was very inspired by Dan Flavin, techno culture, raving, nightlife, dancing, very kind of rooted in warehouse culture, industrial fabrication, and this kind of world. So those were some of my earlier pieces. And then I'm just going to show you what happened was, where's my thing here? Then this is Todd and I. This is a recent picture that Mindy from Fieldfare Press took. So that's my partner Todd. And what we did is we both lost our jobs in the city and it was time for a change. And what we did is we rented. Okay, this is what we did. We found Oak Hill, and we spent the good portion. We found this creek, and that's me. And we essentially rented an Airbnb, and we spent time, and we found nature, and we started building labyrinths out of stone in the water. And we found ourselves kind of just our friend Gloria, who came over from Germany, and then we just spent 2 months meditating in the creek and just working on these, I don't know, labyrinths or Andy Goldworthy, again, Andy Goldworthy inspired things, and try to kind of basically reinterpret what we were going to do. And we were feeling a little bit, I guess, lost. And this is the mountains. We were exploring and hiking and doing all of this stuff, and it was really beautiful. And it was about 2 months of that in the summer. And then essentially a woman we befriended, she showed us a house, and it was very cheap. I'm going to show you a picture of the house. She said, look, this is for sale. And she showed us this little farmhouse, right? It was in foreclosure, it was abandoned. And I think we were at a place where we said, you know what, there's definitely a vibe up here. And we ended up working on this place, and then we turned it into this. And we basically put together my fabrication knowledge and building and whatnot, and Todd's horticultural sense, and we pulled together our first space, and we kind of rooted ourselves in the area. And then I think it was a matter of figuring out, well, what do we do here? It was kind of interesting hearing Homestead stories like, okay, it's all fun and beautiful for a while. What do? How do you pull it together? And then we basically decided to pull our skills together, and that's when we started our business. And that started with, I'll open these images, and that's when we started Hort and Pott. So we found this old carriage barn here, and it was basically an opportunity to create something new. And we decided to open Hort and Pott, which was short for horticulture and pottery, which is the two skills that I thought were most viable to do something with up here. And essentially the idea was that this business would follow the season. So this is what it looks like in spring. And then you'd go to midsummer, right? And it would evolve. And then we'd go to the kind of lush part, which is my favorite part of upstate New York. Really, it's like a jungle up here. And then you'd move into fall. And then you'd move into my favorite holiday, which is Halloween. So we'd always have a little moment. And I think about 3 kids in the whole town would show up and come get spooked out. And then we'd move into holiday, which is kind of somehow what I think we've become really known for is, I guess, Christmas and holiday and gatherings of lots of people coming to participate in the spirit. And then let's see, let me see where else. So we did that for a couple of years, and I think it was a really nice way to meet a lot of people. And we did that for a while, and it was a place where we got to host, I don't know, workshops and explore a lot of the ideas, explore a lot of the people going on. And now I'm going to show you just some random pictures because I think that's the best way to just kind of walk through some of these things. Okay, let's see here. Okay. Todd makes wreaths. A large part of what his process was about foraging and using things from the Catskills, and basically like reflecting what was happening in the area. So these are some of the works he was doing in the beginning. And then, oh, this is at Audrey's farmhouse. She was one of our very first customers. So she asked us to do a big wreath. That was really nice. Really fun to just photograph on all these historic buildings up here. That's the shop. And we're no longer here, so I'm going to move to the next stage in a second. And so we basically just really enjoyed this process, kind of making found foraged objects, which is such a big part of what we do, is turning things into something else, creating, inviting atmospheres and environments for people to come and enjoy. And I also thought the comment earlier was really interesting about editing, cutting and editing things from the scene, because I think we all know you can kind of look at rural regions and you can see rundown things, or you can see like beautiful nature. You can kind of see a lot of different perspectives. These are a bunch of our concrete castings, and we make garland, and we love fire. Here's more of the interiors.
Hey, Carter, can you talk a little bit about your casting? You showed some of your, just can you talk a bit to that? Because you just skipped over it, but they're so beautiful.
Sure. Do you want to see more of the concrete stuff?
No, just if you can go back to that slide and just explain, what they are, how you sell them, and how you make them.
Sure. In this picture, there's different. So I evolved. Actually, speaking of evolving too, it's like I went from a very digital and light-based, like techno, I guess if you want, like worldview. And then when I came here, it didn't really exist. And so working with more of a sculptural material like concrete and form building, and having these gardens where we're growing these massive tropical leaves and getting to play with fire, kind of inspired this whole foray into using cast concrete as a medium to create sculptural pieces as well as functional things like pots I'm pointing at the screen like you guys can see that, but I know it's not the case. Pots and these sculptural leaves and vessels for both water and fire. And that became kind of a foundational part of the pottery, which was supposed to be ceramics, but wasn't really occurring at the time. So we kind of made the pot part of Hort and Pott concrete. Here, I'll just show you some other examples of that real quick. I think the idea behind the concrete for me was moving from the technocratic realm to harnessing elemental energies like plants and water. So these are some of our pots that incorporate moss and natural textures. These are torches for people's gardens and outdoor living. So we wanted to see about how do we harness both earth and air and fire and water, which were all so important, kind of this new kind of rural experience, Japanese inspired bonsai, container gardening, a lot of influence from other cultures, ancient, that had lived close to nature. This was inspired by bark, but it's not faux bois like some talented people I know how to do it in a traditional real way. This is just a kind of reinterpretation. I love the old stepwells of India, so I wanted to kind of play on some kind of architectural riff on water. We did fragrant candles inspired by old landscapes. This is supposed to capture the essence of smell and scent through pine and vetiver roots. And let's see, we've got bonsai, geometric things with water bog gardens. I love bogs and swamps and water plants, especially like this parrot feather and the hyacinth floating under there, and just all delicious stuff. Highly textured. We'd play with finding old rusty objects and making stains out of those, and changing the colors of things. So I think really it was a lot about just using all of the kind of elements that we were discovering out in nature. Like I used to find furniture on this cool furniture in the city, but now I was finding like old rusty tools, and it was just a completely like different approach. And I think after playing around, then we started getting commissions to do container gardens for some local hospitality places. This is a place out in West Fulton that asked us to do some stuff, and then we started doing container shows, and then this one went to the Berkshire Botanical Garden. So that was kind of a segue that I started, I guess, going off on. And I think it's just, to go back to this picture, it's just become such a fundamental part of what we're trying to create for people and offer people in terms of castings and other elements. So.
Right. But what I also, when I first came to you, and you were in the new building by then, you know, when I saw it on Instagram, I always thought that you were taking pictures inside your house. And then I came to the boarding house, and it felt like a house, but it also was a gallery, and it also felt like a shop. But what I loved about it is that you just weren't quite sure what it was, and you weren't even quite sure what it was, which items you were selling, and which ones were just part of the staging and the creating of this story that you literally into. It's like such an experience walking into your that space. What do you call it? You call it a gallery, a shop? What do you call it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even like the word gallery, because I don't know if that's fair to the people that really have galleries. It's kind of a shop, but it's not really a shop. I don't know really how to frame it.
Well, I don't think you have to. I think invite people to come and see for themselves, right? I mean, that's very much what your space is about. It's like you don't really want to put a tag on it. You bring all of the outside in. That's really, I think, the most important takeaway I got from it, is that you you teach people how to bring nature inside and to live in nature, which is outside, and you really kind of blend the borders between the two.
Yeah, like, okay, here's a shot of the inside, and it's kind of a hybrid living room. It's like we put a mantle in there and there's a table and there's some chairs, but I think the idea is like, is it a living room? Is it a space? I think it was kind of, I think our intention was to try to get people into the mindset of like you said, bringing the outside in and what it might feel like if you lived in, like, I don't know, a botanical fantasy land or something, because I can't even claim to live in a space like that. I have to go back to a quite minimal space to sleep. So, you know, I think it's about bringing all those elements together, and it is kind of different. And I'm happy to explore a new model that I don't really know how to explain it to people. We're open limited hours. We have very irregular. We said we open on peak seasonal weekends to people, and I think that it's almost better experienced than explained in a lot of ways. So
Exactly.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay. I used to be really uncomfortable with trying to figure out like how to explain it to people, and it seems like it's, in a way, really nice to hear how a lot of people find us and they discover us, and it becomes kind of a ritual to come back every season and see what's new, because it will evolve from season to season. So I actually want to show you a picture of what it was when we found it. All right. So
Yeah.
Since I'm not organized and I don't have spreadsheets or PowerPoints or whatever, this is, okay, here we go. This is what our shop or whatever, that's what it is. So we found, okay, here it is. We found this building. It's an old, this is another boarding house, because I guess it's like a pretty common thing upstate back in the day. And so we found this, that's our realtor, thinking we were absolutely nuts for thinking we would do something with this building. And then I walked in and you could kind of see all the old wallpaper, and I started pulling the ceiling down at this point. And then we found all of our structural issues, yada yada, and then eventually we turned it into this, and this was the first spring. So this is the building that now, just so everybody sees, this is the building that you have visited and that you're referencing now. So that's early spring, and then this is into the summer, or fall actually, as it starts to get engulfed by tropical plants and vegetation.
Well, it's fabulous and fantastic. We're running a little late, so I think,
yeah, good.
Anything else you want to say it now, and otherwise we'll go to the next speaker.
Yeah, that's great. I just thanks for paying attention, and I just I'm grateful for the opportunity to share a little bit of my insane kind of brain into what we do up here. So yeah,
Yes.
Thanks.
And both you and Todd, you're brilliant. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Here, bye.
Thank you so much. Very amazing, eclectic, nice presentation. Wonderful, inspiring, especially. I want to have more.
Yeah, I'll bring you up there, Lee, one day.
Yeah.
So now we're moving.